Alright, so what I would suggest doing is you can have all of your audio in one clip, alright, and then you bring it in. So I would set up the layers like this though. If you're working in Animate, I would have the kind of the background character. So this one here is like the figure of Homer in this case, with without the mouth. All right, so I can hide this layer. All right, so ideally, and I didn't prep this really well, but I would have erased the mouth and the nose on here, right? So because I was kind of moving a little more towards doing it in Character Animator. All right, so let me just zoom out on here so we can see the whole thing. All right, so we have one layer, which is just our character, or each one of those. So I have a Homer layer, I have a Bart layer, as we can see, and then I have a mouth layer for each one of those. All right, so we use that reusable symbol for the mouth, and then those are on top of them. All right, then what you would do is you can bring in your whole audio on one layer, and then what we're going to do is kind of split it and then sync it as we go. All right, so I've kind of gone through and done some of these segments already, and so we can see here that it plays. All right, so that's as far as I got with that. So let me just demonstrate what I would do from there on. All right, so now I have all right, so my audio kind of goes from here then. So I would kind of listen and find out where my next split portion is, because this is still the rest of my audio here. All right, so I'll kind of rewind this just so I can hear where that next part stops. All right, so right about here, I think. And you can kind of see your waveform in there. So I'll go in here. I will now split my audio. So now that made that into another one. And I would start, your audio layers you should probably name in kind of increasing order. All right, so that when you're doing your syncing, you can assign it to that. So this is kind of that, now it's been split. Now I would make a new clip. All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take everything that's after that. So I'll select from here down to here. And I'm going to say, I'm going to right click and I'm going to say cut frames. So that removed it from that layer. And now I can just click on this new layer I created and say paste frames. So now when we do that audio syncing, instead of syncing to that whole layer, it's just going to be that part here. All right. And now all I have to do is to go on these other layers. First thing I would have to do is fill them in so that the graphic still appears. All right, and now, so that's Bart talking, all right, in this part that I have here. So this layer here, as I want Bart, so now my Bart mouth layer, at that point, I'm going to insert a keyframe, because that's going to be like another placeholder for positioning. And then I would just go in here, select the mouth, go to my lip syncing. My poses are already set, and I just say sync it to A4, because that was that layer that I created with that part on it. Press done. And now it's going to apply that lip syncing for that section there. All right, so now I would have him talking at that point. All right, so you just kind of keep repeating the process. All right, you're going to split your audio, create a new layer, cut and paste, and then lip sync all in that same layer. So it's nice that we are able to get all the poses kind of to be within those layers, that so we don't have a ton of them. But you are going to have a lot of audio layers, I would see there for that. All right, so that's the process for Animate. Character Animator is similar. All right, so on these, I've kind of already set this up. I don't know if I'm going to be able to kind of work that, but let me see here. So I have the same audio. Wait a minute. Ice cream truck. Alright, so maybe I'll work with this at this point. So we have this edited audio again, and basically you're doing the same thing though. So if you had that whole layer, alright, you would have to then split the audio so you have the clips, and then you also can split your characters. So you actually kind of get a couple more layers in Character Animator than you do in Animate, but it's going to be the same process where we would select the character after that's split. So if I was syncing kind of this one to here, we would just select those two, and then you do timeline, compute, take from scene audio. Alright, you do have to kind of look at what's going on the side. So, sorry, the screen was not over there. And actually, maybe I'll pull this one in a little. I'll kind of start this one a little bit more so we can see what happened from the start there. So actually, and what happens is in Character Animator is that you do have a bunch of scenes. So I can probably just include a new scene and kind of work this again. So if I just say scene, new scene, alright, and I kind of go down to here. So that kind of takes everything out of my timeline. So as this one was being built, I would have my audio. That's not the right audio clip, I don't think. Let's bring this one in. Alright, so we would have our audio, we have our first puppet, we have our second puppet. Alright, and then as we start playing, we can then trim our audio or split the clip like we did before. So this first one.
Why are you doing that?
So that would be my first part, spoken by Homer. So I'm going to select my audio. I'm going to split it. So now I have that on two parts there. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my my puppets. So I'll split it at that point. And then I can just select these two layers and say timeline, compute lip sync from scene audio. And now we should have that. Yep, so we have our poses down here on the bottom. We can see that happening, all right? So it is going to generate more layers in here than in Animate, but it's actually, I think, a little bit easier of a process because you don't have to cut and paste frames. All right, and then you could always do your background in Premiere as well, but we can bring it right in here and move that. I think what I'm going to do is, in The Simpsons, there's a cat that they have that kind of is in random places, so I'm going to have the cat kind of like run across. So I'll probably do that. Actually, I think they have some preset ones in here even, or I might even do that in Premiere if I had it on a transparent background or something like that. All right, but hopefully that will simplify the process in whatever program you're using, and then so you can process and get that lip syncing part done, because it's not quite as straightforward as it was with one character, but hopefully you can see that you're just splitting your audio and choosing the things that you want to have synced together.